Hello everyone, I am Raisal Ko. Today I'm going to discuss about the digestive system and body temperature regulation. So digestive system. Digestive system consists of the digestive tract and other organs that assist the body in breaking down and absorbing food. It is a long twisting tube that begins in the mouth and travels through the esophagus, stomach, small intestine, large intestine, and anus. So there are four primary functions: the digestion, the absorption, motility, and evacuation. Digestion is a process used to prepare food for absorption. There are types of digestion: the mechanical digestion, mastication and muscular contraction of the GIT. The mechanical digestion is mastication starts in the mouth and continues in the stomach with churning and mixing. Chemical is action of acids in the GIT and activity from enzymes in the GIT. Activity from enzymes produced by microorganisms in the GIT. So, absorption. Absorption is the process that moves small molecules through membranes of the GIT into the blood, so the molecule may be used for their specific function. So, absorption is the process of taking nutrients from the digestive system into the blood so they can be used in the body. Next slide. Step 1. Prehension. Sizing and conveying of food into the mouth. Step 2. Mastication. Chewing or the mechanical breakdown of feed. Finely divided feed presents a greater surface area than coarse feed. Feed will be mixed with saliva to facilitate easy swallowing. Secretion of saliva is stimulated by the presence of food in the mouth. Next slide. Step 3. Insalivation. Mixing of food with saliva. Step 4. Deglutition, the act of swallowing. It is the movement of substance from the mouth to the stomach. Bolus formation for ruminants. Formation of balls of food out of the masticated food particles. Step 5. Digestion. And step 6 is absorption. Maintain fluid and electrolyte balance. Evacuation of waste products. So next slide. Normal GL tract motility involves the following. Peristalsis. It is the muscle activity that moves ingesta from the esophagus to the rectum, and it consists of the alternate relaxation and contraction of rings of smooth muscle in the wall coupled with regional contraction of longitudinal muscle. So, peristalsis is muscle contraction that move food through the digestive tract. So, next is segmentation movement. Churn and mix the ingesta. It activates the circular muscle in your intestine that contact to move food back and forth. Next is segmental resistance and Spicer tone, which retard a boral progression of gall contents. So, segmental resistance, it open and let food pass into the stomach from the esophagus. Next is we will gonna discuss parts of the digestive system. Mouth and the first is mouth and vocal cavity. The main functions are for prehension, mastication, and insalivation. So, mouth and vocal cavity is the first part of digestive tract, and it is located in cheek. So, in ruminants, for bolus formation, serve as defensive and offensive weapons. So, next is esophagus. It is muscular tube which connects the stomach to the mouth. So, next is pharynx. Common for food and air. Inspired air crosses the pharynx to the larynx while feed crosses and pharynx to enter the esophagus. Pharynx or throat is a part of the body that helps with eating and breathing. Stomach. Enzymatic digestion of protein begins and foodstuff reduced to liquid form. Stomach is a muscular organ that digests food. Next slide. Stomach. Simple stomach present in all domestic animals except ruminants. So, simple stomach is an animal with a single compartment stomach. So, the function of the stomach are provide food storage space, site for grinding and mixing food, site for absorption, site of enzymatic action, site of microbial fermentation. Next slide is type of animal according to structure of their stomach. The first is monogastric, simple stomach animals. Most of monogastric are generally unable to digest gases. So, example of animals are pigs and horse. Next slide. Number 2, the modified simple stomach. It has crop for storage, proventriculus, and gizzard for grinding and mixing feeds. Proventriculus, glandular stomach responsible for the secretion of gastric enzymes for digestion. Gizzard, muscular stomach. It's responsible for mixing and grinding of feeds. So next slide is compound stomach. Compound stomach have 4 compartment stomach. Ruminants with 4 compartments: rumen, reticulum, omasum, and abomasum. So, the examples of animals are cattle, carabao, goat, and sheep. So, compound stomach is they can digest cellulose by harboring digesting bacteria and protozoa with their stomach. And compound stomach is the largest part where the main digestion occurs in ruminants. So, next slide is 4 compartments of the compound stomach. The first is rumen, paunch, largest of the 4 compartments. Rumen acts as a storage or holding vat for feed. Number 2 is reticulum, honeycomb. Reticulum, a pouch structure in the forward area of body close to heart. So third is omasum, glandular. It is to represent an arrangement for continuance of fermentation in all species. So the fourth is abomasum, through stomach of ruminants. Abomasum has true digestive function. So next slide is in young ruminants, an esophageal or reticular groove is present. Through this groove, the milk bypasses the rumen and reticulum, and it is directly digested in the abomasum and intestine. This reflects diminishing as the animal matures. Eructation, belching gas. Eructation is ano po? Eructation is necessary to eliminate gas that is produced as a product of microbial fermentation. So next slide is, as you look at the picture, you can see the four compartments of the compound stomach: the rumen, reticulum, omasum, abomasum. So next slide is rumination, a process that permits an animal to forage and ingest food rapidly, then complete the chewing at the later time. First is regurgitation, returning of food or bolus into the mouth. Second, remastication or rechewing. Third is reinsalivation, mixing with saliva. Fourth is reswallowing. The next slide is condition for fermentation to occur in the rumen. The anaerobic temperature of about 39 degrees Celsius, neutral pH, the presence of microorganisms like ciliates and bacteria. So, chyme is a mushy, semi-solid mixture of food, water, and gastric juice. So, chyme is a substance that consists partially digested food mixed with digestive acid found inside the stomach of animals. So, next slide is flow of food in ruminant. So, mouth is papuntang esophagus, pababa sa rumen, then the food travels to reticulum and back to mouth. So mouth to omasum and omasum to chyme. Next slide is three regions of small intestine. The first is duodenum, contains duodenal glands or Brunner's gland. Then the fixed region of the small intestine. Next, the regularly shaped, blunt and wide villi. So the role of the duodenum is to complete the first phase of the digestion. The second is jejunum has no glands, and the longest region of the small intestine, and the long, slender, and smaller leaf-like villi. So jejunum is the middle part of small intestine and to absorb sugars, amino acids, and fatty acid. So, and ileum has no glands, contains Peyer's patches, and club-shaped villi. So, ileum is the last part of the small intestine, helps to further digest food coming from the stomach and the other parts of the small intestine. Next slide is three regions of the large intestine. The cecum, blind sac projecting from the large intestine near the ileocecal junction. So cecum connects the small intestine to the colon. The next is colon. Colon is the longest region of the large intestine divided into ascending, transverse, and descending parts. The third is rectum. Rectum is short segment between the colon and anus. And its wall is similar to the first two except for the folded mucosa and presence of numerous goblet cells. Rectum is the lower part of the large intestine that connects to the sigmoid colon. Next slide. Next is anus. Anus is a mucocutaneous junction between the rectum and the skin of the body. The tunica submucosa in the caudal part contains anal gland, circumanal glands, and anal sac. Next slide is accessory glands. The first is salivary glands, which acts on starch and glycogen. Salivary gland is organs that produce and relate saliva. Second is pancreas, endocrine, insulin and glucagon. Exocrine produce digestive enzymes which passes through the pancreatic duct. The endocrine production of insulin and other hormones. Third is liver, largest gland. It produces bile, which is stored in the bladder. So next slide is avian digestive tract. The parts are beak, esophagus, crop, proventriculus, gizzard, small intestine, ceca, and the last is large intestine. So beak is the chicken use tongue to push the feed back to the mouth. And esophagus, flexible tube that connects the mouth. Crop is located outside the body cavity in the neck region. The proventriculus is known as the true stomach. Gizzard referred to mechanical stomach. And small intestine and ceca is located where the small and large intestine joins. And the last is large intestine. Body temperature regulation. It is a group of vertebrates to their ability to regulate their body temperature with respect to their environment. So body temperature, it helps in controlling the loss or gain of heat and maintaining of an optimum temperature range by an organism. Homeotherm, warm-blooded animals' body temperature independent of that of their environment. Poikilotherm, cold-blooded animals' body temperature varies directly with the environment. So next slide is homeotherms attain body temperature constancy by chemical regulation. Chemical regulation altering the metabolic rate by adjusting the production of certain hormones such as thyroxine and epinephrine, severing and changing muscle tension. So next slide, physical devices and activities. Sweating with evaporation of water from the skin. Changing the rate of breathing to alter vibrational form from the lungs. Altering the volume of blood following to the body surface by vasodilation, vasoconstriction. Changing the amount of internal or external thermal insulation. Changing the free body surface area by lying down and huddling when it is cold. And locating more favorable environment such as sunshine, shade, dry or wet areas, shelter from winds, and etc. So, hibernation, a condition when animals maintain a high body temperature under favorable environmental conditions, but abandon homothermy in the cold. Hibernation is a way animals conserve energy to survive adverse weather conditions or lack of food. And animals in hot climate also undergo hibernation called estivation. This works to survive them from extreme heat weather. So next slide is process of heat dissipation. So dissipation is the process of converting mechanical energy of downward flowing water into thermal and acoustic energy. So next slide is the normal rectal temperature range of the different diseases of animals. The primate as horse, mice, rat, elephant, ruminant, dog has 36 degree to 39 degree Celsius or 96 to 101 degree Fahrenheit. Then, while cat, pig, rabbit has 38 to 40 degrees Celsius, and chicken, turkey, goose, duck has 40 to 41 degrees Celsius. The chicken, turkey, goose, duck has 40 to 41 degrees Celsius or 103 to 106 degrees Fahrenheit. The quail, pheasant, sparrow has 41 to 43 degrees Celsius or 106 to 109 degrees Fahrenheit. So next is the metabolic rate and ambient rate temperature. So the ambient rate temperature affect metabolic rate as temperature increase. So the rate of metabolism increase and then rapidly declines at higher temperature. So the next slide is process of heat dissipation. Conduction. The conduction involves direct contact of animals with a part of its environment. So conduction is process by which heat energy is transmitted through collisions between neighboring atoms or molecules. So Heat transfer depends on contacting surface of animal. Heat transfer is depend on the difference in temperature between animal and environment. And heat transfer depends on conductiveness on the contacting surface. So next is convection. Heat transferred to or heat transferred to or from the animal by movement of heated air particles. So convection is the process of a substance transporting their heat energy from hotter areas to a cooler areas. So heat transferred by convection is proportional to the surface area of the body affected by velocity of the air moving along the animal surface area and of ambient air. White surface absorbs 20% of solar radiation, black or dark surface 95 to 100%. So the next is vaporization. Heat loss depends on the temperature of the skin. Heat loss depends on covering of the skin. So as your excess body heat is used to convert beads of sweat into vapor, you start to cool down. Heat loss from the lungs depends on ventilation rate or respiration rate, humidity of expired air. So next is gradients of temperature. Considerable variation of temperature in the different parts of the animal such as blood, tissues, rectum. So the gradients of temperature is the rate of temperature with displacement in a given direction. So rectal temperature is equals to index of deep body temperature. Next is physiological responses to heat. So what is physiological responses to heat? Physiological responses to heat is polypnea, breathing is rapid respiration. Circulatory adjustment, cutaneous vasodilation, evaporative heat loss and sweating, and eccrine and apocrine, panting, and cutaneous vasodilation. So next is physiological responses to cold. Behavioral responses and increase for insulation. By adoption of posture which reduces the surface area exposed to cold environment, and during acute exposure and increase for insulation. So the piloerection is minimize heat loss primarily to radiation and make it possible for animals to compensate for moderate cooling of the environment without increasing metabolism. So circulatory adjustment, arrangement of deep arteries and veins running close together. By continuous heat exchange, cold venous blood certainly and warm arterial blood periherally minimize heat losses to a cold environment. So shivering is to shake involuntary as from cold to fear. And non-shivering is generation of heat by the body in responses to cold stimuli. So, due to calorigenic effect of epinephrine and norepinephrine, which are secreted in an increased amount. Also important, thyroxine and adenocortical hormones and the reaction to extreme environmental temperature, heat tolerance. Heat tolerance is the ability to physiologically adjust to heat stress exposure and one that maintain homothermy under high environment heat loss. Next is the cold acclimatization. Modification developing during slow seasonal change from summer to winter. So, cold acclimatization is adapt to a new temperature, altitude, climate, environment, or situation, and it allowed them to survive the freezing temperature during winter season. So, cold acclimation. Changes occurring during cold exposure for a few weeks when other environmental factors remain unchanged. And cold acclimation is a process in which an individual organism adjusts to a change in its environment. So that's all. Thank you for listening.